Hi guys, Vipin here. And this video I'm doing only because I'm frustrated, I am angry, I am pissed off that people in my fraternity, the teaching community, uh, parents, friends, all these people keep lying to us regarding what is actually important and keep away stuff which is actually important. Now, I'll tell you something which I refer to as the five lies, the five myths which we come across hearing from everybody. So, let's get started and please bear my frustration throughout the video. The first thing that you would come across while you're growing up would be you have to take up science, you have to do a professional course. And the only reason why you should do a professional course is because professional courses pay well. Now, this is one of the biggest bullshits that you would come across because uh, depending on how an economy is actually doing, that particular industry pays more or pays less. Now, let's say, for example, in 2008, it was a terrible year for people who had done engineering because many of the engineering colleges in Bangalore and many of the places in India couldn't come across placements as well. So, if you tell me that this formula method of living a life that I have to do this and then I have to do this, so equal to a high salary. No, it doesn't really work that way. If doing that was so simple, everybody whom you would come across would be extremely wealthy and the entire world would have been a utopia. It doesn't work that way. Oh, and this is my favorite lie. Getting good marks is all that a student needs to do. Get good marks or die trying. And this comes from somebody who has been able to score on average 55, maybe 57% throughout my education. The highest I've been able to get was around 65% in my MBA. And I'm not even sure if it's 65%. I think it's a little bit below that. So if I was supposed to get very good marks, it means that I'm very successful, but I'm getting terrible marks, and so therefore I'm not successful. Bullshit. Your marks is not a criteria for anything at all, except for maybe pleasing your parents and giving you that 15 minutes of fame. Whenever I see photos of people who are getting ranks, all that, I'm so happy that these guys got their 15 minutes of fame and the world has forgotten them afterwards. So good marks is, yeah, marks is important for you to clear an exam, but nothing more than that. What actually is important is a good skill set. Believe me, someone who is having a good skill set, say knowledge, communication, things like that, he or she has greater chances of acquiring a job than someone who has just good marks or their marks card is very colorful. Okay, this is because arts, when I say refer to arts, I refer to things like, say, writing, photography, painting, sculpting, things like that. Particularly, let me focus on photography. And this reminds me of a bitch of a colleague who was there in my previous workplace. And one of the students there, he was a really nice guy. I forget his name. And he said that he's very passionate about photography and wildlife photography. I give two thumbs up for people who are into wildlife photography. And this bitch stands up and says, "How dare you take up something like wildlife photography? Do you know how little money photographers make? How will you feed a family? How will you take care of your wife?" Now, don't people believe that people who are in this field are not really interested to have that life like everybody else, a family, kids, all that? People who are into arts prefer to be by themselves. They're very happy actually. They're not really the type of people who expect companionship all the time. They're not really people who look forward to having kids, all that. And they're very happy by living a life where it is mostly fun. They enjoy what they're doing. And I have to give them hats off because they lack financial security. They have no assurance for income. And yet, these guys are determined a lot more than people who are writing those shitty IIT exams, all that. So, arts is not for losers, arts is for people who are creative, arts is actually for people who are genuinely intelligent and not just marks card intelligent. Oh, yes, IITs and IIMs are the greatest institutions in the world. Who said that? The auntie next door says that these are, in fact, the greatest institutions in the world. They are good institutions, I don't deny that, but they're not the greatest institutions. There are many other colleges across the world which have seen students come out with significantly better achievements than what IITs and IIMs have put together. IITs and IIMs are mostly into teaching. They're not really into having students take up research and doing something which is actually going to make a revolution. They're not really into something like that. So, no, they are not the greatest institution in the world. And in case you couldn't get into an IIM or couldn't get into an IIT, you haven't really lost anything at all. So, don't believe the hype. All the learning for a student happens in a classroom, and the textbook is something which is able to give you all the necessary information you need for the rest of your life. This is something that I've come across again in the previous workplace. Many of the people there were strongly against my website because my website is always going beyond the textbook and giving students something they actually need. Now, learning does happen in a classroom, but there is a condition. The learning should happen when the concepts that are there in the textbook are associated with what happens in reality. That is, if a teacher is teaching something, let's say reserves and surplus, a concept in accounting, they are only taught that reserves and surplus is there in a balance sheet. No one really explains what is reserves. How do companies put across their reserves? How much do they take as a part of their profits? What's the difference between surplus and reserves? None of this stuff is actually explained by looking at what actually happens in reality. And textbooks are useful for 3 hours of your life. Now, 3 hours of your life is your board exam. And beyond that, the textbook has no use at all. That's another thing which people would come across and tell you. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I hope you stop believing these 5 lies or the 5 bullshits and the 5 myths that people keep throwing at us continuously. This is something that I went through personally in life, where I have relatives who were engineers, doctors, all that, and even I was forced to take up something like this. And I'm really glad that I did not pursue that path and screw up my life, because that was not my interest. So anyway, guys, please leave a comment in the section below, and I'll also leave a few articles where I've linked to this particular myth, and this is my favorite myth of all, IITs and IIMs. I've written a few articles based on them, why I don't really like these institutions. So you guys have a nice day, and please subscribe to my videos. Bye.